I'm a Christian, and I try to say that with the conviction of being a Christian by character and not just in name, because a lot of people are Christians. Um, I want to represent a Christ-like um, character in my everyday. And I'm not saying that to sound, better than anybody else or perfect. I am far from perfect. If anything, being a Christian is a daily reminder that we are trying to attain a level of perfection that we just cannot, because we're human. It's just impossible to be perfect. But recognizing that and being vulnerable in that allows you to look to someone, God, who is bigger than all of that imperfection. And if you put your focus there, then you can inch a little bit closer every time. And that's really what my goal is through everything that I do.
Born and raised in the motherland, chasing a better life. Story of an immigrant.
Concrete pastures.
Concrete pastures.
Hello, family. You are listening and watching Concrete Pastures. This is Nancy Mlemwa Sisi. Thank you so much for tuning in, and to all of our new listeners, welcome to the family. This is a space that allows myself and others to share our stories as we deconstruct the world's view of immigrant status. We unlock the joys, the laughs, and the bravery that being an immigrant brings. Support us by subscribing and stay a while as we dive into today's episode. Today, I have an amazing sister, our first Cameroonian sister. So I am on a roll in reaching the whole 54 countries of Africa. Her name is Tongwa Akanji Eko. I actually found her on culture class, so I am so grateful she said yes. I reached out to Nosa. Nosa gave me the contact. I am so grateful for this contact. So let's get to meet her. A little bit about her. She was born and raised in Buea, Cameroon. Tongwa moved to the US of A at the age of 17. She graduated from Prince George Community College, University of Maryland College Park, and American University with her associates, bachelor's and a master's degrees, respectively. Through her educational career, her interests focused on communication with a lens on TV broadcasting, writing, and film. In Baltimore City, she hosted a CharmTV show, 5 Minutes with Gabbie. We're going to get into that, which focused on stories of individuals serving the community positively. She also has written a collection of stories, poems that are called Musings, about life, love, and growth. Something that we do cover on this show. She is passionate about God, music, art, and celebrating people walking in their God-given purpose. Through her music, speaking engagements, and content, she aspires to continue to impact and impact people with a desire to seek God first. Welcome to Concrete Pastures.
Thank you so much. I am doing fantastic. It is an honor to be here. And I truly also am grateful for NOSA for connecting us, because I think the work that you're doing with Concrete Pastures is quite commendable. And, being in a place that is, for most of us, at least when we just come here new, it's a great resource to have. If nothing else, it's a good place to go just to have some of your questions answered. So you are doing fantastic work, and thank you for leaning into that.
Thank you so much for that. I'm so grateful. Super excited to know about Cameroon.
Me too.
Yes, Buea. So were you born in Buea, or were you born in?
Yes, I was born in Buea, in a little sort of quarter, if you could call it in Cameroon. Kwata. If my Cameroonians are listening to me, they're going to be like, what is this accent that you're doing? But I was born in a little neighborhood called Mile 16. in Buea, and that's where I was raised all my life. I never lived anywhere else. I went to school about maybe 6 hours away from the town that I was born in. I mean, for primary and, you know, nursery, primary, and boarding school and secondary school.
Mm.
But yeah, I grew up in Cameroon until I was 17, and then my parents moved us to America.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of being in Cameroon?
Oh, see, now, I would preface the answer to that question by saying I haven't been back in the 13 years I've been in America. So my memory of the place is just the community and the joy of living. Now, granted, I was much younger when I grew up there. So what I thought about the world was vastly different than what I think about the world now.
Mm.
But if we're talking just favorite things, I want to go back home just so I could eat some authentic Cameroonian food. Like, we have a lot of options here. I live in Maryland right now, and there are a lot of Cameroonian, you know, cuisine options, but nothing tastes as authentic as it would if you're eating it right, you know, back home. And like there's just something about the environment that makes it taste different. And I miss that. And as long ago as it's been since I've been back home, I still remember, like, every time I eat a Cameroonian dish, and like, this tastes good, but I know in my heart of hearts that if I was eating this in Cameroon, it would definitely taste a lot better than it does now.
Well, come on, make us hungry. What does
Yeah.
a Cameroonian dish look like?
Okay, fufu and eru. So there's one of the things about Cameroon is so vastly diverse, and depending on who you're talking to and from what part of Cameroon they are, you will hear a different dish. I am from the English speaking side, and so the food that I just said, eru, it's a vegetable that you eat with fufu. Anybody that knows, if you're African, you know what fufu is. Yes, so you eat that with fufu. There's achu. And these are all dishes from the first one is from, I think, Bayangi, if I'm not mistaken. It's a little tribe in Southwest. And then the other one is from Bamenda, which is the northwest of the country. Where I'm from, the things that we eat are a pumpkin. So the pumpkin leaves, we make
I love
fried.
pumpkin leaves.
Yes, it's so good. And we make them crunchy and like put some pepper in it.
Wait,
We
you
call
fry
it,
yours?
yes.
Oh, ours is like steamed.
Oh no, we dice it and fry it with crayfish.
Ah,
And it's just so good. It's so good. And we eat it with fufu too. So that's where where I'm from, that's one of the staple dishes. But yeah, I miss all those things. A lot of them are also vegetable based. There's another leaf we call bikang. It's you know, there's bitter leaf, right? I don't know if you know bitter leaf.
we don't. I guess our bitter leaf is different from you guys. The bitter leaf, I've only heard it with Nigerians. You guys have the bitter leaf also.
Yes, we do bitter leaf, and we
Is
use
it
the
bitter as it says bitter? Is it
bitter, but when you cook it, so what happens is when you harvest it from the farm, it's actually, and then you boil some water, and then you steep it in there, and you squeeze it out and wash it, and it loses some of that bitter taste, and we use it to make different types of soups and, you know, vegetable dishes. So we call it bitter leaf, but it's when you eat it, it's not actually bitter. But when you just harvest it fresh, it is bitter, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, I miss olive.
I'm glad you shared that. Where did you go when you came to America? Where did you guys arrive?
Maryland. We landed in Dulles Airport in Virginia, and then my uncle drove us I think it was an hour and a half or hour to his apartment, his tiny 2-bedroom apartment in New Carlton, Maryland at the time. And myself and my mom and my 4 siblings stayed with my uncle for about 6 months.
Wow. What was your culture shock for getting to Maryland? You're in America at your age.
Yeah, so I was 17. And you know, at 17, you're like young adults. And so you're starting to form your own opinions of the world. Like, for the first time, you're doing things because you can think through them and not because your parent told you to do it.
Yeah.
And when I got here, I remember distinctly how I talk now is not how I talk to my brothers. So everybody watching me, if you catch me talking to my brothers or my husband or people that I relate to every day, I don't sound like this. I have a Cameroonian English accent that is not this. So I remember when I was 17 coming here and thinking, this is an opportunity to sound as American as I possibly can. And now it's a code switch. I have tried to undo it, but I can't now. But I distinctly remember trying to sound as American as I could. And part of that was I always wanted to be in journalism. I always wanted to do television and reporting and broadcasting and that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
I figured if I'm going to grow up in this market, I need to be marketable. And, as unfortunate or fortunate, depending on who you ask, that this is, you don't find a lot of in mainstream television in America, you don't find a lot of people with heavy accents, except it's like a niche show or something really specific, but you
Yeah.
don't see them in like mainstream media. And I wanted to be mainstream at the time. And so that was a conscious decision I made to try to sound as American as possible. The caveat is I would talk to people who are American and I would talk as American as I possibly could sound. And they would say, where are you from? You have an accent. So it didn't work. It did not work. But that was one of the biggest ones was, trying to sound as American as I could. I remember distinctly thinking the language is different, how African Americans talk is different. I didn't understand, not because I couldn't comprehend the words. I could comprehend what they were saying. It just in my mind, having learned British English, some of the words just didn't make sense. I'm like, why are you using random words in the middle of a sentence? It didn't make sense to me. Things like, which I say now and don't even think about it. But at the time, when someone would talk and say the word like in the middle of a sentence, I would be, in my mind, I would say, that's wrong English. It took a while to know, okay, it's just, cultural nuances and how people talk and, just based on social cues and social context. But yeah, those were the two big things.
So I'm assuming you went to school here.
Mm-hmm.
How was the experience going to school here in Maryland, at least?
Yes. So I went when we moved, I started college. I started community college because I was 17, which is right at the cusp of graduating high school in American age. But I didn't do my last year of high school. I didn't do 12th grade here. So I didn't go to high school, which I regret. Well, okay. A little bit of me still regrets it because I would have loved to go to a prom just to have the American prom
Oh
experience.
my goodness.
But I love how you just rolled your eyes. But I do too now as an adult,
I
right?
think it's overrated, okay?
No, did you go to prom?
I didn't go to prom.
I would have loved. I mean, imagine my 17-year-old self.
I did my high school diploma here. I did.
Okay.
There was no prom involved and stuff. Even graduating college, I didn't go to the whole ceremony thing.
Oh, I love graduation. We can talk about that. I love graduation. Okay. But so that was one of the things. So when I started school, I went directly to community college. And just to do a little plug, one of the things that I'm grateful for is having a community that was able to teach me how to find the best avenues for education. A lot of people, I don't know if they know, but if you want to save some money, do 2 years in community college and then go to a 4-year institution, because community colleges are way cheaper. And if you do a good job, you oftentimes will not have to pay for school, or the government will help support some of your financial aid and all that stuff, and then you can transfer those credits to a 4-year institution and only have 2 years of student debt if you don't have other means to pay for it. So doing community college is a good way to cut costs, rather than going to a 4-year college right off the bat, right coming out of high school. So that's what my parents told me to do because they were advised by other people. Mind you, we moved here, all of us at the same time. So my mom didn't know any better. She was relying on everybody else's experience. And that's one of the things that we benefited from at the time. So yeah, I did 2 years of community college, and then I transferred to College Park, Maryland, where I finished my bachelor's. And then I did American University for master's about 3 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad you shared that piece, because I also went to community college trying to save money because I looked at everything, especially living in New York. I looked at how the cost of the university. I'm like, NYU, I'm like, forget it. Any college that was uni, I'm like, we're not gonna go there. I'm
Mhm.
putting myself into college, so I saved more, even though I paid as a international student. It
Yeah.
was still cheaper than me going to a university because
Yep.
you go to 2 year, and I'm grateful that you shared that.
Yeah.
So you graduated, and now are you working as a broadcaster, or what are you doing?
Okay, that's a good question. So I went to community college. I did public relations and journalism. I have an
Mhm.
associate degree. And then I went to also, by the way, side plug, the added bonus of going to a 2 year college is you actually get an associate's degree, which you can't get if you go to a 4 year institution. An associate's degree is something that you can actually use to work. So if you
Yep.
want to do 2 years of college and get something that you can use as, your credibility for whatever career you're in, you can actually use an associate's degree to find work and just shoot your career up from there. So I graduated in that, and then I went to College Park and I did broadcast journalism. Graduated in 2013, then went to 2015, then went to American University and studied film. Now, if you know this, there's a thread. All of these are the common denominator is communications in some form. So I've done some writing, some journalism, some storytelling and film and all the things. And yes, for a while I did work at CharmTV. I was doing a television show called 5 Minutes with Gabbie. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But the primary role that I had at CharmTV was as a studio production assistant. So they would tape different shows with the mayor of Baltimore City and different events that he was hosting, press conferences, and I would be behind the camera, or I'd be running the lights, or I would be running the sound. So I was working as a production assistant, and this bit of it came right after I graduated from my master's degree. So I went back to Baltimore and I was doing that. But before then, I did like little jobs here. I worked for Verizon at some point doing TV inserts, like commercial inserts. They used to call us, oh, I forget. It's been like 8 years since I did this job. We used to do like, how you watch the NBA game, like the NBA finals or whatever sports games,
Yes.
and they insert the commercials in between the games, like for like a football game or a basketball game. We
Yes.
were the ones sitting in the studio punching up those ads.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was actually quite cool to see. And I'm not a sports person, but I got a lot of insight of like how the sports world work, how like college sports works and all of that, which I don't know how it's going to serve me, but it's nice to know.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't work as a broadcast journalist. I ended up doing like little communication type jobs here and there until I landed at CharmTV, and I was there for like 6 years doing production assistant work and also hosting my own TV show.
How hard was it, or how easy was it for you to get a job as an African woman? Do share, do share.
Come and see all the tears. I cry. So, I'm a millennial and we tend to want things now.
We
We
love you,
want
millennials. We love you so much.
want everything to happen right
Right
now.
now. Yep.
And I had the shock of my life that I graduated college and I didn't immediately land my dream job. I was so sure I was going to be the next, reporter at ABC or some fancy place like that. And it didn't happen. And I applied and applied and it didn't happen. And at some point, I said to myself, I'm waiting for people to give me an opportunity and I have to create my own opportunities. However, whatever that looks like. And so, fun fact, I actually started my very first job out of college was not in anything to do with broadcasting or any of that stuff. It was as a concierge for a concierge agency. And I would sit there and greet guests and I would sit in the lobby. It was like almost like a receptionist job. And that's what I did. It gave me joy because I could talk to people. And as you can tell, I like to talk. Hey. But it was still communication in some form. So I didn't mind it. And then once that door opened, then I got the Verizon job doing the ads and the sports and the TV. So I sort of snuck my way into the TV world. But finding a job was hard. I got out of college in December of 2015. I graduated. My first job, the concierge job, didn't come until probably July that year. And then my first video job didn't come until maybe August or September that year. And then by December of 2016, I started as an intern actually with the Baltimore CharmTV, where I was saying I did production assistant. I started as an unpaid, didn't have anymore. I was just doing it because I said to myself, I want to be in TV. If they're going to give me a job, something that has anything to do with any TV station, I will do it for free until something changes. And lo and behold, I was there for about maybe 4 or 5 months. And the public access channel was shifting, they were shifting ownership. And so the boss at the time said, do you want to run, the public access channel, as in manage all the scheduling and do all the behind the scenes of programming? So I also have a little bit of a background in programming because of that opportunity. So I started there and I started getting paid actual money. And I was like, oh, okay, this is starting to look up, did that for a long time in addition to my other video. So I was working like 2 jobs because, needed to make ends meet, and I was supporting my mom, and did that for a while. And then after, it took like maybe 2-3 years for things to really start to set. Now I don't work in broadcast anymore. I left CharmTV last year. Was it last year? Oh, 2021, late 2021. I got into IT, and now I do communication still, but in the IT world, which is completely different than what I went to school for. But I am applying all of the communication skills that I learned, funny enough, through my, community college, all through college and all through my master's degree. So it's kind of coming full circle, but no, I don't do broadcast journalism. I just find other ways to do it, like host podcast shows and talk to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was that experience? What was it called? TV
5
with
minutes.
Gabbie?
Yes,
5
5
minutes with
minutes.
Gabbie.
Let me tell you how that came along. The importance of having a mentor, someone who looks out for you in your professional career, is just, I cannot overstate it. Every opportunity that I've gotten, I'm so grateful because I can pinpoint one person who did something for me or recognized something in me that helped me to get what I had at the time. And how 5 minutes with Gabbie came up was, the boss who gave me the opportunity to do the programming left the company, and we got a new boss. And then she came in, and my direct supervisor, whom I'm very close to, I shared with him my dreams of, wanting to be the next Oprah one day, and, hosting, just really being in television without the journalism. Because as I got older, I also realized that maybe it worked out for the best, because I'm not a news person. I'm a people person. I'm a experienced person. I want to know what people are doing and why they're doing them. And I want to talk to people about how they walk in their purpose and in their passion. So news doesn't fit anywhere in there. I'm not the person to get up at 5 a.m. chasing a story. That's just not my vibe, So as I started to realize that, I started to think to myself, okay, what kind of career do I want to have that will help me to do that? And I voiced that to my direct supervisor. And so when this new boss came along, he, shared that with her, and she came up with a show, and she said, why don't you host a show? And she gave me a couple of trial runs. I did a couple of stories, put the packages together. I film and record and edit all the content for 5 minutes with Gabbie, a lot of it. I had the channel had some cameramen that, helped do the filming, but a lot of the editing and the sound and all the thing I put together by myself. So I was pretty much almost like a one woman show. And it was hard. It was exciting. It was very revealing, or what's the word I'm looking for? It helped me to really introspect and see what it is about my own talent that I can rely on. And it helped me to understand that you can't do everything by yourself. Even though I was trying, I had people that I could go to and say, okay, look at this thing and tell me if it makes sense, because I'm seeing it in my head this way. And many times my supervisor, my colleagues at work, they would say, Tongwa, and all of them call me Gabbie, which is why my name is Gabbie. We can talk about the name thing in another time. But they would look at it and tell me. And so the challenge was really getting up and doing it. That was the challenge. And when you overcome the hurdle of actually doing it, the rest of it sort of always somehow falls into place. At least for me, it did. Because, when I remember when they told me, oh, you're going to host a show, I was super excited, because I was 23, 20, okay, no, probably 26, 27. I was going to have my own show. Now, granted, it's not a national television show. It's, you know, a small public access channel in all of Baltimore City, but all of Baltimore City
Still a
could
big
potentially,
deal.
it's still a big deal. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be able to do this, you know, and I'm excited about it, but I'm also in the back of my head, like, don't take the opportunity from me because I don't do a good job. So I sort of psyched myself into doing a good job so that I would stay. And I ended up leaving because I wanted to, you know, I'm starting a family. I just got married. So other life things made me sort of shift from that. But really, it was a tough decision. It took me about 3 years to make the decision to leave CharmTV. And I wasn't getting paid like a lot of money to do it. This is a public access channel. There's no money in, okay? I wasn't getting paid any big bucks or anything. But I love doing it so much that it took me 3 years to decide to make a change that would benefit my own life financially and in other ways. And just for losing something that I wasn't getting paid a lot of money to do.
Being an immigrant can be hard. Having been away from my home country for over 20 years has allowed me to experience these hardships firsthand. Throughout my journey, I've had a lot of challenges that were hard to bear. Juggling adjustment to a new country, obtaining my immigration papers, getting married, having children, establishing my career, and finding time for myself. Even though I've always had faith, I also relied on therapy, which gave me the tools to cope with the issues life brought me. My fellow dreamers, let's remove the stigma around therapy and normalize seeking help with today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Go to betterhelp.com/concrete pastures for 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help in as little as 48 hours.
I think a lot of times it's not the money, it's what it was giving to you, because you were connecting with your community. Like you said, you're not out there to chase, the news and waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning to chase what the weather's going to look like. Like, I asked you before we started, I was like, do you know about the weather tomorrow? You're like, Nancy,
No,
please.
I do not. No, I do
I'm
not
not
know.
about that life.
The only time I ask Alexa, what's the weather, is if I'm going to step out of the house and I need to know whether I should put a big jacket or
Yeah.
something.
So when you have like a passion like that and you want to continue to connect with people, it's very hard to let go. And do you miss it?
Oh, absolutely. What? Absolutely. Every day. I've had, since I left CharmTV, by the way, I still work with them as a contractor. So sometimes they'll call me into the studio to do like production assistant work if they're short staffed. Again, this is public access, like there's not a lot of people there. And I miss it dearly. I mean, I miss doing the show. I miss the rigor of getting up in the morning and having to put my makeup on. I didn't have a makeup artist. This is not a high production. I was doing my own makeup. A lot of times my braids were probably a month old by the time they were like, oh, we got a new episode. So like I'm going on TV with my hair looking all janky. My sister-in-law would tell me, Gabbie, you need to get your hair done more often. But like I miss doing all that. I miss logging the camera around after we're done filming because it's a 2-man crew and you got to help, pick up all the cargo. You got to help break down everything. You got to help build it up. So I was in it and it was fun. And it took me to a lot of corners in Baltimore City. I got to learn how to skate. I got to learn I saw a young, probably 17-year-old at the time, open her own snow cone business. I got to talk to the mayor of Baltimore City in a one-on-one interview that I did with him. Most important person I ever interviewed in my life. And it's no small feat, so there's so many really good moments. And the day I had the interview with the mayor was the day after my wedding, funny enough. Like the Monday.
Wait, you worked after your wedding? The day after?
So I got married on Saturday. And on Monday, I interviewed the mayor of Baltimore City.
Damn, girl. Just saying. Like, you couldn't take a week off to enjoy the moment.
No. We went right. I mean, it's the mayor, and first of all, it was hard to get that interview because he's the mayor, and so he's busy. And so when the time came, I was like, oh yes, I'm gonna shift
Be
whatever
there.
else. I mean, I remember my hair, I was beaming in that interview because I just got married. So I
Yeah.
was already like super excited. And he had just won the so he was mayor-elect at the time. His term hadn't even begun, but he had just won the elections. And so I just remember being in like a really good place. And a lot of those interviews, I remember just feeling really excited about them and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to someone who's actually making a difference and enjoys doing what they're doing. And that's really what drives my own passion, is seeing other people really lean into their purpose. I think for me, that's what fuels me. It helps me to think, if someone can dedicate their life and their time and their talent to something specific and work towards making that thing a reality, then so can you. And mine just so happens to be, artistic endeavors, be it speaking or interviewing people or doing music, whatever the art, wherever the art leads. Ooh, that should be on a t-shirt.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
No, that's super beautiful. What's your favorite story from everything else you covered?
Whew. I really, really like the mayor one. My husband's favorite is when I interviewed Shalonda Stokes. She, at the time when I interviewed her, and I think she still is, the president of Downtown Partnership in Baltimore, which is an initiative to bring businesses downtown Baltimore together and help foster the economy of Baltimore City. Anybody who knows about Baltimore City knows its challenges, with people exiting the city. There's a lot that's going on in Baltimore. And so they have initiatives like these, and really funded through the mayor's office also, and other other avenues that are trying to infuse more business and more community and more collaboration, among all people in Baltimore City, just to make the city better. So I really enjoyed her conversation. My husband thinks that's the favorite one I did. We sat in swinging chairs, which I need to get one in my house, in my apartment. I've been bugging my husband, like, I need a swinging chair. What other one? I did one where I was skating. There was so many of them. We did like 2 seasons of 5 episodes each, I think. So there's a couple of episodes out there. And frankly, I don't remember all of them, but I just remember the feeling of doing those. The very first one I did was of this guy that owned a restaurant in downtown Baltimore called, I'm gonna remember, City something. I forget. But I remember that because it was the first one, and I remember all the takes of the stand-ups that we did outside of the show. There's a lot of them. I can't name all of them, but they were all really fun to do.
Yeah, no, I see the passion in your face. I'm always excited when somebody is doing something that they love to do and it fulfills them, because it's the fulfillment that you feel, even though you're helping others, but the fulfilling aspect of it's
Absolutely.
It's no other.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
How did you end up on culture class?
Masters. So I was doing my masters. Met Nosa. We had the same job, which was, I forget the title of the job, but it was something to do with student advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So we would talk to other potential students to the graduate programs in American University on the phone and try to answer their questions about their applications and all that stuff. So we're working in the same office. That's how I met him. And we were having a conversation one day, and he had wanted to be in podcasts for a long time, and I thought about it a bit. And so long story short, the podcast started with us two, and then I went off to do other things, and he held the podcast down for, pretty much took ownership of it, and it's his baby, and he's held it, and it's still going to this day. I popped back up sometime last year to do a couple of episodes when he was in the middle of some things, and now it's back to him. So it was just an opportunity to have candid conversations about who we are, what we're doing, from all walks of life, all parts of the world, and just give people an opportunity to tell stories that other people can relate to and educate each other about our cultures. So that's where the name Culture Class Podcast. We used to call ourselves classmates and call the listeners classmates because, we're all in the same class trying to learn the same things And oftentimes those things aren't that different.
Definitely is, definitely is. No, because that's why when I was listening to you having a conversation with one of your guests, and I was like, wow, it was it was so insightful with what you guys were talking about, and you guys were talking about broadcasting and how it is for her. I think she was a Muslim woman, and you did ask that question, so that's why I was like, how was it for you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of times until you are put in the position to answer a question like that, I feel like we often go through life sort of taking in the next moment.
Yes.
And you forget to sort of take stock of this moment that you're in. And you asked me this, and now I'm thinking, I know the backstory of how we started doing the podcast together. I can't really tell you how it was because in the moment I knew how it was, but now I'm looking back and I'm like, wow, there have been some really great experiences, really great connections with people that we've had just because we sat down and had a conversation. Even the ones that I did with Nosa, I tell Nosa all the time when I talk to him, the first couple of episodes that we did, we were a 2-person podcast. Even if we didn't have a guest, the arguments that we had about life and how things should be from a male and female perspective were just, at least if you ask me, very entertaining. So, a lot of times we have something to say. Everyone has something to say. You just have to find your avenue and say it. Find your means of communicating that. And while you're at it, appreciate where you are, because someone will ask you how it was and you can actually articulate confidently that this is exactly how I was feeling when I was having this conversation, or this is at least what I remember in that moment. And it's sort of a beautiful way to look back at your life, doing stuff like what we do, doing podcasts and stuff. You almost are documenting the seasons of your life without really, you're in your mind, you're doing it like I'm interviewing other people, but to some extent you're documenting yourself too. Because then you think about how you respond to things, how you ask people questions, and you look back 5 years from now and you're like, wow, I didn't even think that I thought that way 5 years ago. I'm completely different now. So it's definitely eye-opening for sure.
Look at you, oh millennial. Oh my God. So deep. I love
What does
it.
that mean? Wait. What's the millennial comment about? I want to know.
No, because you guys are very vocal. So we love you, how vocal you are. You're fearless, and it's just you go getters. You just go for it. For us, we reserve ourselves. We're like, oh, we can't really say that. But you guys are just like, no, we have to address this.
It's the audacity, the audacity of being this age. And I think, in fairness, we have to give it to, we can do this because we were raised in a way of privilege to some extent. Like my parents definitely didn't have opinions about things. They went with the flow. They didn't have the luxury of chasing a passion. It was about, you lived, you worked, you provided for your family, and you did the next thing that you needed to do so that your family didn't starve, especially if you're from a place that is not affluent, right? Or if you don't have an affluent background. So we do these things because we were afforded that luxury to do that. And part of, at least in my growth, is recognizing that that is a privilege and not to abuse it, because you can't just be loud for no reason. Like if you're going to say something, it has to mean something. It baffles me in today's culture, frankly. There's so many things and opinions and ideas that people are propagating within the context of, oh, I can say what I want, I can do what I want, that I just don't agree with. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, you're just privileged and you don't even realize how much privilege you have. But that's just me.
No, well said. I agree with you. And also the part of documenting, I really try to sit into each conversation that I have. Today, you are my 4th conversation that I'm having.
How are you still having, like, you look like you just put dolled up for me. You don't look even a little bit tired. That's amazing.
That's the beauty of coffee. But aside from that, I get a lot of adrenaline from having this conversation, and I try to sit in each space that I'm in, like whoever is coming to be with me, you're giving me your time. That's more precious to me than anything in this world. So the fact that you are here and inspiring and pouring into my soul and everybody else, that's why when we started, I'm like, listen, my soul is full and you're about to pour into it. It's about to overflow. And I'm just grateful for that.
And people love, by the way, people love to feel like they're adding value. In the line of work that I do now, adding value is a big thing. It is, if you're not adding value, people don't want you around. And in
Yes.
corporate, you have to be adding value, otherwise you're out of a job. And so, you know, when you say how, and I see how passionate you are about the conversations that you have, and how people, you know, add to your day and to your audience's day just by being themselves and sharing who they are, and what they're about. It makes me want to call up all my friends that I know and say, hey, go be on the Concrete Pastures podcast, because she's great and she's gonna make you feel like you did the best thing ever, you know?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And adding to that, because today I was actually literally listening to my conversation with Nosa. That he interviewed me, and I was like, this is good. Oh my God, he has so much good questions. I'm like,
Oh, he's great. Yeah,
this
those
is
is
good. And I've been so into the moment. I've been off the grid today. Like I'm trying not to communicate so I can just sit in every moment. So I didn't even reach out to him. I was gonna text him. I'm like, yo, that was a great conversation that we had. Like I listened to it when it came out, but today I was getting interviewed. I was like, oh, let me listen to how I answered some of the questions. So I listened to his specifically, and I was like, wow, okay, that was good. That was really good.
Yeah, he's intelligent. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's very ambitious. He's very
Yes.
driven.
Mhm.
And so everybody needs an ambitious friend in the corner. Like everybody needs somebody in their life that is a go-getter and won't take no for an answer. And, you know, in the interest of full disclosure, I had to learn that the hard way working with Nosa, because Nosa's like, we going. You're coming or you're not coming, we're going. Okay. You better pack your bags because we're going. And at the time in my life, I needed to step back a little bit. I wasn't quite ready to go. But you do need people in your life that make you want to get up and go and do the thing. And a lot of times, you know, for a lot of people, that's the biggest part. The biggest challenge is, how do I get up and do it? And when you start it, trust me, you get the fuel from actually doing the thing. And so you don't stop.
Yes, completely true.
Mhm.
I noticed you're a musician.
I am.
Do you have music out?
Ew.
Oh,
So
sure.
it's funny you should ask that. So I
I
am.
caught you singing. That's the part. When I
You
came
did?
on, you were singing.
Oh, yeah.
And I got that melody. I was like, wow, okay.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do sing. I have a single out called Forever, which I released like 6 years ago now, or 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it's been a while. I also have another song with a dear, dear, dear friend of mine called Tinaya, or she now goes by Naya. Called Want It All. All of these songs are on YouTube. I don't have my own album or my own sort of
Nice.
record, but it's something that I'm hoping that, you know, when God makes the way, we can flourish in that direction. So yes, I do sing. For now, if you want to hear me singing, go to Instagram. I sing on Instagram all the time.
Lovely.
Yeah.
What type of musician are you? Would you categorize yourself as?
So I just decided finally that I want to be a gospel inspirational artist. I'm not a pop star. At some point, I wasn't doing music because I thought in order for me to do music, I needed to be a pop star. And you know, pop star lifestyle is different. I mean, it's not in my personality. I had to come to terms with that. And I'm finally fine with not being a pop star. So I'll do gospel, I'll do inspirational songs, things that uplift people, things that tell true stories about circumstances, and things that ultimately make people reflect back on God and who he is and how he's able to move in our everyday in incredible ways. That's the kind of music I want to do.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
You talk about God a lot in your even in your bio, it's there.
Mhm.
What's your definition of God?
The Alpha and Omega, the I am that I am, the creator of the universe, that he's the end all be all. He's the author of all things. I'm a Christian, and I try to say that with the conviction of being a Christian by character and not just in name, because a lot of people are Christians. I want to represent a Christ-like character in my everyday. And I'm not saying that to sound, better than anybody else or perfect. I am far from perfect. If anything, being a Christian is a daily reminder that we are trying to attain a level of perfection that we just cannot, because we're human. It's just impossible to be perfect. But recognizing that and being vulnerable in that allows you to look to someone, God, who is bigger than all of that imperfection. And if you put your focus there, then you can inch a little bit closer every time. And that's really what my goal is through everything that I do. It's taken me a long time to come to this. And part of it has been just finding my own faith, which I didn't, believe it or not, until I've always been a Christian, in that I've always believed in God, the Christian, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, all Trinity. But I didn't start to really hone in to build a relationship until maybe 2-3 years ago. And for multiple reasons, I just sort of went with the flow. Like, my parents always just took us to church when we were young, and so we just went to church. I never questioned it. It was nothing that I invested any real thought into until a few years ago. And so after I started doing that, I've been learning slowly that to be a Christian is to be Christ-like. And to do that, you have to invest time, you have to invest energy, you have to invest resources. Whatever you do has to point in that direction in all ways and in all things. So, I'm talking from simple things like how you dress to, just how you carry yourself, how you respond to people, how you think through the day of your day. And again, I really feel a little weird saying this, because I feel like people are going to hear this and think, oh, she's goody two shoes and she wants to be,
No, I
God.
think this is your space. I talk about God all the time because I wouldn't be in the US of A this long if God didn't come through for me. Everything I am, everything I've been able to accomplish is because of God. So I love anybody who is not afraid to talk about what their beliefs are.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to that place. I used to not be this vocal, because I used to think, oh, too churchy, or you can start kind of still see a little bit of remnants of that. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be in terms of my relationship. I never had this like aha moment. You know how people have an encounter and they always say, oh, when I met God, or like when I gave my life. I've never had
this moment.
Yeah, I've never had it. I've never had it come to, exactly. I've never had a come to Jesus moment. But in my everyday little things and how I'm looking at my life, I mean, even just shifting from CharmTV to do the job that I do now, it was an act of faith. I told you, I didn't want to leave. Number one, because I was doing something that I love to do. Number two, because I was comfortable, and the idea of doing something that I hadn't done before was just scary.
Yeah.
Right. But I had people around me that I kept hearing it over and over for 3 years. It took me 3 years, believe it or not, to make a decision to quit a job and go find another one. Right. Yeah. But again, just little things like that, where you see sort of the move of God in subtle ways, even when you're not paying attention. It makes you stop and think that there are forces, God, beyond you, controlling even the people who don't believe. For me, it's I look at some people and I just pray. I say, you know what, God, when you're ready to reveal yourself, you will show them what's up. Like, you're gonna make them know, like, I'm really in charge. You think you are, but not really. But yeah, so just recognizing that and appreciating that is helping me to at least start to think in that direction. And now where I am in my personal faith is just to build and cultivate even a deeper connection. Because I feel like if I can appreciate what I have so far with the little effort that I've put in to build a relationship, then what else is there? Like, what other things can I unlock just by leaning in a little closer? And that's really what I'm trying. And I'm inquisitive by nature, so I want to know. I want to know what. I want to know where those doors lead to.
Beautiful. No, because a lot of us are ashamed, but we are okay with a lot of celebrities talk about God, and it's okay for celebrities to talk about God. I remember like Denzel Washington's speech, and it's a famous speech. Like, everything you hear from me is because of God. Everything you're gonna hear me say is because of God. And he says that freely, and
Boldly.
but
Steve
for
Harvey's
us, normal people, regular people, if we talk about God, everybody like scatters away.
yeah, it's almost and it's unfortunate because we're living in some, and I don't know if we want to go into sort of the depth of what is going on in today's culture. These are some trying times. These are some trying times we're living in. Okay, so, like, I mean, everything in mainstream culture is pointing you the opposite direction. Literally everything. It pains me to watch some television shows sometimes because I'm in my mind, I'm like, how is this okay? How are people writing stories that make you think that these things are okay? It does not make sense to me. And I'm talking all the things. All literally just turn your TV on. And if people dare to say that's wrong, the Bible says it's wrong, it has always been wrong, it's never going to stop being, talking about this art that people call music, that is really, in my mind, devil worshiping. I'm talking about all those things. If you are bold enough to say that is wrong, it'll always be wrong. You need some deliverance. You need somebody to pray for you. You need to go seek some Jesus in your life. Everybody's going to be like, oh, cancel her. Oh, da-da. And I'm at a point in my life where I can have these conversations with my husband, and I have these conversations with my husband all the time. People in my circle, I have these conversations all the time. And I always ask myself the question in the back of my head, if I'm put in the position to answer this question in a TV show, now I feel like I can say yes, because nobody knows me. I'm living my little life in my little corner. One day, I'm probably going to be bigger than where I am right now. And so will I have the same boldness to speak on these things with this level of passion now? And I don't know the answer to that question. I want the answer to that question to be yes, absolutely 100,000% yes, all the time. And that's what I'm striving for, which is why I feel like the way for me to do that is to build my own faith first, so that I have conviction for myself, and so that I'm able to have a certain level of credibility because I have spent the time to invest in what I truly believe in, and not just understanding it from a, right or wrong perspective, but being able to back it. And somebody that I'm watching a lot, that sort of is not shy to put these things out there, is a pastor called Vlad Savchuk. I think that's his name. I watch a lot of these little short clips on Instagram, and I see people that are not afraid to say overtly, this is wrong. And I want to be that person when I have a platform like that, because those moments will come. Who knows? This podcast episode is probably going to go viral for you. I don't hate you. I don't say, people should be violent or, horrible with other people for what they think they believe in. But I do think that people have to understand that fundamentally there are things that are just not okay to do. The world wasn't created like that.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Sorry, I'm surprised at how vocal I've gotten in this interview.
Listen, everybody comes, and everybody is very is free. I God creates that space for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have been able to find yourself in your own way, and you've been able to do so much at a young age. And at this point in your life, do you feel you found your concrete pastures?
Do I feel that I found my concrete pastures? I think I have started, I I feel like we're using concrete, right, as the reference. We've laid the cement, right? And we're starting to sort of pave the pasture, if you will.
Gotcha.
And so we're not quite there where we're seeing the end of the road yet, but we are starting to, it's a vision now. Like you can see the vision, you can see where you're headed. You're not there yet, but you're headed in that direction. That's where I feel like I am. And I only say that because, number one, again, it comes back to my faith. I believe strongly that who I'm meant to be has to do with who I am in Christ, in Jesus Christ. And what that is, I don't know yet. And I've questioned this for a majority of my young adult and, you know, early adulthood. And now I'm starting to sort of get some answers, which is why I'm leaning more into music and some of the other things that I'm doing more boldly and more consistently. But, you know, I haven't gotten to that sort of place of aha yet, and I'm headed there. And that's one reason. And number two is we inherently are always changing and evolving. What we think in the moment is what we want. When you get there, by the time you get there, you already have another destination. If you're really growing and thinking as a human being, you will be looking to other things, right? You will be looking to other ventures, expanding, growing, all the things. So finding concrete pastures to me is an ever continuous journey. And so we just make one little slab and then step on it, and then we make the next slab and then step on it. And maybe we'll end up somewhere at the end of the day in what legacy we leave behind. But that's really at least how I think about it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. What are you working on currently that we can support you on, and how can people find you?
Oh, that's a good question. Right now, frankly, I'm not working on any big projects right now in terms of like music or podcasting or anything like that. I would like to be followed on Instagram because I live my daily life there. I make little dinner things. I signed up for HelloFresh and I was cooking some of the HelloFresh meals and putting
How
them on
is it?
It's actually good. Surprisingly, I got my first box like 2 weeks ago, and all three of the meals that came in it are very good. Were very good. Even my husband, who's a picky eater sometimes, approved. So I'm like, okay, it's not bad. It's actually very good. Only thing I would say, HelloFresh, are you listening? Is they could probably make the portions a little bigger, but otherwise, it's very tasty food.
Oh,
Very
nice.
tasty.
HelloFresh, please listen up. Bigger portion.
I know. Yes, please come pay us some advertisements money, you know. But yeah, so I do that, and then I also sing, and music is sort of something that I'm leaning more into. At least this year I want to try to. So I'm going to be doing a lot of covers of different types of songs on my Instagram channel. So if you want to follow up with me, Akanji Eko is my handle on Instagram, AKANJIEKO. That's how you find me on YouTube. I'm on there as well. And Instagram primarily. Facebook and the other things, TikTok, same handle, but I'm not really as active. Instagram and YouTube is really where I hang out. Mostly Instagram, really.
Tango, this has been wonderful. It's been amazing. I guess we'll get into Gabriella's name.
Maybe part two of this conversation.
Part two of this conversation. It's been an honor to have you. I'm so grateful that you stayed late to have this conversation with me.
It's fair. It's only fair since I was late myself. So I do appreciate the time and, you know, the opportunity to share who I am and what I believe in. And maybe this is going to be a diary record, and I'm going to listen to this in 5 years, and hopefully I have even stronger convictions in the same general direction as what I've shared with you today. So it's going to be fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Again, you're doing a fantastic job, Nancy, and, you know, Godspeed as you continue to share with us and others how they can find their path in a new place and flourish, really. So great work. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Mhm.
Oh.